answered one question after another on the alleged illegal drug trade at the National Penitentiary. Let's go straight to the source of this story, to the legislators themselves who probed Sebastian. Welcome to the program, House Deputy Speakers Fred Castro and of course Gwen Garcia. Thank you for joining us today.
It's nice to be with you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. You're not tired after 13 hours?
Well, for us who are used to working that long, 13 hours is nothing. We can go more than 30 hours.
Yeah, Congresswoman.
Well, we always expected that this is how it should go. And as Deputy Speaker Fred said, we're supposed to be known to be hard workers, and so we're now proving ourselves.
And this is not the first time this hearing lasted for 13 hours. This is the fourth hearing, and it concluded last night. Also because Congressman Umali was saying that the House Speaker wanted this pretty much over and done with. After 4 days, Congresswoman, what's your assessment so far?
A lot of testimonies, a lot of shocking revelations. We will have to sift through all of the data that have been presented. Of course, nakikita na sa karamihan ng, well, practically all of those that testified may common denominator. We know that this all started with House Resolution 105, which called for an investigation into the illegal drug trade in the New Bilibid prison. And after all of the witnesses had been heard, I think the entire country already knows that parang may common denominator lahat, and this would all lead to then Secretary of Justice Leila De Lima. Obviously, this was admitted that the illegal drug trade was ongoing, and in fact it proliferated. Meron lang mga siguro nagkakaiba-iba yung kanilang mga testimonies insofar as some other aspects are concerned, but what was common to all was the admission that they were tasked to engage in the illegal drug trade in order to raise funds for the senatorial campaign of then Secretary of Justice Leila De Lima.
In your opinion, Congresswoman, does that make Senator Leila De Lima guilty?
We cannot just pass judgment right now. It is, and I would also wish to remind myself that the investigation was not a prosecution process, that we were not there to find out who were actually guilty, but we were there to find out what were the flaws of the system in the New Bilibid prison in order to craft legislation that would address the long recurring problems that exist in the NBP.
Congressman, I understand what Congresswoman Garcia was saying, that really it's a House resolution, you're crafting bills in aid of legislation, but most of the testimony pointed to a senator, a sitting senator, who is supposed to be allegedly responsible. How do you assess after 4 days of hearing? Did it center too much on Secretary Leila De Lima then, or was it fair enough to give you a sense of the problem in the NBP?
Well, I think the information gathered so far is good enough for us to be able to respond to our function as legislature in connection with an congressional inquiry in order to legislate pertinent laws to curb or to arrest what is illegal or anomalous within the National Bilibid prison. But if we are going to talk about criminal case or conviction, I have to qualify my answer. Because insofar as probable cause is concerned,
yes,
that a person of sound mind would conclude that there is probable or probability that she is connected with the drug trade inside the Bilibid prison, I think there is abundance of evidence so far presented to establish probable cause.
In other words, there is probable cause against Senator Leila De Lima. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
Do you agree, Congresswoman Garcia?
I would have to agree. We sat through 4 days of hearing, and it is just impossible to think otherwise. The preponderance of evidence or the testimonies of the witnesses themselves all point to her, as I had earlier stated.
All right, last night was 13 hours of hearing, as I mentioned a while ago. JB Sebastian finally showed up. He was one of those I'm sure you have been anticipating and wanting to show up in the House hearing. Let's listen to a portion of his testimony yesterday.
Si JB Sebastian. Ako po ang sinisisi nila kung bakit na-discover ang lahat ng kalokohan sa Bilibid. Ang lahat ng tao dyan masaya. Parang nasanay na sila ron sa mali. Kaya nung lumabas yung tama, ako na ang lahat ng may kasalanan.
Sino naman ang may interes na pigilan ka sa pagsasalita?
Si Clarence Dahil po. Kilala po ako nila personal na kapag dinala ako sa ganitong forum or pagpupulong, hindi ako mangingimim magsalita ng lahat ng aking nalalaman. At alam nila, yung pinakamaselan na usapin tungkol sa Ninja Cups o yung involvement niya, particular din sa mga pulis sa labas, kaya siguradong sasabihin ko.
Sino po ang nagpapasok nito? Sino po ang responsable sa pagkaluwagan sa Bilibid
Guards
sa
po
panahon
yun.
yun?
Guards yun.
Guards. Guards lang po.
Yes, Your Honor. Iyan po yung mga nataguriang pulis na nabanggit ng ating Pangulo at ng ating PNP Chief, na kung saan kapag nakahuli sila ng malaking quantity ng droga, imbis na sunugin o imbis na isurrender, 300 kilos, makikita nyo ipipresenta 30 kilos, yung 270 pagkaparti-partihan para ibenta muli sa publiko. And by that time, hindi na pwedeng huliin dahil pulis na yung nagbibenta. Ito po talaga ang dahilan kung bakit lumaganap ang droga sa Pilipinas. Lumaganap talaga ang drugs nung nagkaroon ng competition between the Chinese communities. Between Peter Ko and Ben Marcelo, pababaan ng presyo, pagandahan ng quality, at doon po nagkakatalo.
Lahat naman nag-testify dito, nagsasabi na pinamit mo sila, miniting mo sila, at binigyan mo sila ng kota, at lahat sila nagsasabi na nagbigay sila ng pera sa'yo para kay Secretary De Lima. Saan napunta yon?
Your Honor, hindi po totoo yung sinasabi nila. Yung katungkulan ko po as spokesperson, madalas ko talaga siya nakakaharap.
So alin nga ba talaga yung tama rito? 7 to 8 times o madalas mo?
Hindi ko na po maibigay na accurate kung ilan at saka kung kailan.
Nagkaroon ba ng pagkakataon na kausapin ka personal ni Secretary De Lima para ibigay sa kanya o bigyan siya ng payola?
Personal po ako nag-abot sa kanya isang beses ng 2 million pesos po. 2 million po yung unang binigay kay Junel Sanchez before Christmas, and then 2 million sa Director's Office. Direkto kong inabot kay Secretary De Lima. And then yung succeeding 2 million for 3 consecutive months, Your Honor.
Si DOJ Secretary De Lima ba ay isang protektor o kasabwat sa negosyo mo?
May mas okay na protector Ganun ang dating
Protektor. Pero lahat na ginawa mo sa illegal drug trade ay alam ni Secretary De Lima.
I cannot say that, Your Honor. Alam niya, of course, na galing sa drugs yung pera namin. Kanya-kanya po talaga kami ng diskarte. Actually, kaya sumasama talaga ang loob ko. Parang nagbibigay sila ng impresyon sa buong Pilipinas na kaya nagkandaleche-leche ang Bilibid ng dahil sa akin. Kasi technically, to be a government asset, kailangan po may mga pinirmahan akong papel. Never ako may pinirmahang papel tungkol sa ganyan.
Bakit kanila likidahin? Ibig sabihin ba, Secretary De Lima is involved in all the plan to assassinate you?
Hindi ko po alam kung ano yung tunay niyang agenda, bakit niya sinabi. Pero logically, hindi po talaga tamang sinasabi ng nationwide television na isang bilanggo, kasama yung mga kapwa niya bilanggo, i-announce mo na government asset siya.
How credible do you think JB Sebastian is?
Well, notably in his testimony, there are rough edges. Rough edges in the sense that they are not consistent to the human experience of life every day. I can give you an example. 2 million may not be a small amount insofar as ordinary man is concerned. 2 million might be gargantuan insofar as poor people are concerned. But insofar as JB, considering the amount of money past his hand, it may be small time. But leaving 2 million without ensuring that it is received by De Lima, Secretary De Lima herself, considering that they were together, he just left it and then
In the director's office.
Yeah, at the
Yeah.
director's office. I think that is not
So
consistent.
does it mean, what does that mean? Do you believe his testimony or not?
I don't believe. I
His
don't
testimony
believe.
at all?
Yes, I don't.
Everything JB Sebastian?
No, that part of his testimony.
So there is half truth to his testimony
Yes,
and half
yes,
lies.
yes,
What
yes.
about you, Congresswoman?
Well, first of all, I think he's a very intelligent witness. If you listen to the interpellation, there were even times when he put some of the interpellators on the spot with his very brief, concise answers. I agree with Congressman Deputy Speaker Fred that there were certain aspects of his testimony that would affect the credibility of what he was saying. And as far as I am concerned, it was his flat denial that he was the considered untouchable, malapit kay De Lima, that he was the top
The
honcho.
most powerful.
And the
you
most
weren't-
powerful.
You didn't seem comfortable with that. You were questioning him about him. Apparently, he was saying, hindi kasi ako ang pinaka makapangyarihan doon. Si Colango ang mas makapangyarihan. And you weren't happy with that.
It's just that all the other witnesses had pointed to him, even those drug lords, even the Chinese that were called in.
After him, yeah, after his testimony.
After his testimony. And further, yung circumstances when the December 15, 2014 raid happened,
By the DOJ, yeah.
I questioned him. I said, where were you at that time? And he said, nasa kubol lang niya. It was admitted that he had the biggest kubol, di ba? He had the biggest house there. It was a mansion. And yet, hindi siya, they did not raid his kubol.
I remember you asked him that, Congresswoman. Ang sabi niya, andun ako, tumayo ako, naghihintay ako na i-raid nila yung kubol ko, pero they didn't raid his kubol. Okay.
And you kind of wonder, because, you know, a raid is a raid. You should raid all of the, especially since this was the biggest.
But why is it very important, for example, for the two of you, to find out kung sinong pinakamakapangyarihan doon sa loob ng NBP? Why is that vital to this investigation?
Well, insofar as I'm concerned, it's very important to know who is the most powerful, because it is very important to know who is in charge of the drug operation inside. We want to pinpoint the person who could personally give the most important information, who the people are involved, and second, we want to know how they are operating.
So how
inside.
do you do this? How do you resolve the problem? He's saying he's not. The others are saying JB Sebastian is.
Well, that is only insofar as his status as the most influential and the most powerful inmate inside the Bilibid prison, but it does not define whether he is the big boss in the operation of the drug.
Okay, Congresswoman, does that mean that you believe the testimonies of the other witnesses who say that inutusan sila ni JB na maglikom ng pera for the supposed senatorial campaign? Does that mean for both of you that you believe more those other witnesses' testimony than JB Sebastian's testimony?
Well, if only for the purpose of corroboration, if JB is only 1 against 10, and the testimony of other witnesses are corroborative to each other. Therefore, I, as a lawyer, would rather believe the testimony of the rest.
If you would notice, I asked him one question late into the evening na. Kasi yung dalawang Chinese nag-testify na late into December or in the latter half of the year, I think sometime December, may meeting, pinatawag doon sa kubol ni JB Sebastian. And in fact, they enumerated sinong pumunta. And if you were following the previous 3 hearings, everybody else attested to that they went to that kubol of JB Sebastian, where they were told to raise more funds and all.
Yeah.
That last night, I asked him about it. I said it's in the sinumpaang salaysay of Vicente C. It's in the sinumpaang salaysay of Peter Co. That they went to the kubol with the other gang leaders to your kubol.
Okay.
Is this true? And he denied it. So there again is the fact that everybody else corroborate the same story.
After 4 days of hearing, Senator Leila De Lima was saying that kaya naman dumating dyan si JB Sebastian was because napilitan na siya, his life was in danger, and she is saying that a lot of the testimony really is a demolition job against her. Let's first listen to what the senator, how the senator reacted to yesterday's hearing.
Puro na talaga yung invento. I mean, kaya nga ang ano ko, invent pa more. Hashtag invent pa more. Yan na dapat ang bagay sa kanila.
She uses that now, hashtag invent pa more.
Well, just to address the statement about JB Sebastian being pressured or coerced or threatened, yata, the word was threatened. I'd like to point out that when the hearing started, we did not know what his testimony would be. We did not know whether he would be a hostile witness. In fact, DOJ did not ask for immunity.
They didn't
for
at
JB
the beginning,
Sebastian.
yeah, which raised a lot of eyebrows, I'm sure, because obviously the DOJ did not know exactly what JB Sebastian was going to say during that hearing.
And it was the lawyer of JB Sebastian who asked for immunity.
Are you still giving Senator Leila De Lima the benefit of the doubt here?
Yes, of course. But notwithstanding the benefit of the doubt in favor of Secretary De Lima, she only prefers or she simply presents a negative denial. And there is a law or a rule that an affirmative allegation compared against a negative denial is nothing as compared to an affirmative allegation.
Okay, 10 million pesos, JB Sebastian is saying he was able to somehow turn over 10 million pesos to Secretary Leila De Lima. Then your reaction?
Believable. I can believe that. Because in the first place, it's not one-shot deal. Meaning it's staggered, it's installments.
Yeah.
Therefore, there is no question about the weight of the amount, as well as the delivery. Small amounts could be delivered as easy.
I think he said at some point na yung 2 milyon pagka fresh yung
Yes.
yung bago yung pera ganito lang daw. Okay. What about you, Congresswoman? 10 million? Believable?
I think it's even small. Maliit lang. If you really listen to all of the other testimonies and how huge the drug trade had already become, and considering that he was the identified top guy, the most powerful, siguro maliit nga lang yung 10 million.
And more importantly, Pinky, remember that in the testimony of other witnesses, they also delivered the same size and the same amount of money to her. There was no one among the resource persons who alleged that at one time 10 million, 20 million, or 30 million.
So they were saying the same amount, but does that make that true?
I think it's believable.
Okay.
It's believable.
Well, because of this, not just because of this, this hearing, you've been, the House has conducted 4 hearings. The VACC today, deputy speakers, is filing. They were supposed to file a case against Senator Leila De Lima et al. At 8:30 in the morning. I'm sure we'll be getting more updates on that, on drug trafficking charges. What do you think of that?
Well, in the first place, I commend them for filing and taking the cudgels for everybody. But on the other hand, they could have coordinated, no? And they could not have preempted the Department of Justice as well as the House Committee on Justice. They could have coordinated so that more or less the information that they would give in filing the necessary cases more appropriate, more concrete, and more organized.
Oh, well, maybe they got enough from the House hearings, the 4 days of House hearings.
The chairman emeritus of the VACC was present throughout most
Dante Jimenez.
Yes, the entire day, including well into the night, and Attorney Topacio.
Yeah.
Both of them were there, and they were listening to all of the testimonies.
I just hope that it's not precipitate.
Sa akin naman, that was a judgment call for VACC. It's they're a non-government organization or a private group. They're a private group, and they have their own advocacy. And so I guess after hearing all of the testimonies yesterday, they decided it was the right time.
Because what I'm afraid of, Pinky, is that the Department of Justice might decide to file a case against Secretary De Lima and company. And there might be complication in the presentation of this evidence. There might be complication in the appreciation.
Does it mean that the filing of the VACC could possibly prejudice any other cases that can be filed in the future?
Well, if there is a complication that one alleges this one and pinpoints the allegation to a witness, and the Department of Justice will file a case
And it's different.
pinpoints a different and
I get what
pinpoints
you're
it.
saying.
Therefore, there will now be a collision in the allegations of the witnesses, and it could create complication.
What happens now, Deputy Speakers, to Ronnie Dayan because the House cited him already in contempt?
Well, he will be arrested if he is seen, or voluntarily he could appear and explain why he failed to appear.
It has been referred to the Department of Justice, and I think the NBI would be tasked to find him.
Are you still interested in his testimony?
Well, I think it's still material, because if there is a doubt whether Secretary De Lima in person accepted the money, I think it's very important to produce Ronnie Dayan, whom everybody is pointing as major player in receiving the money for and in behalf of Secretary De Lima.
All right, okay. In aid of legislation, that phrase has often been used. This is why you're conducting this, you conducted rather the past 4 hearings. What kind of legislation are you seeing so far that could come from the House, Congresswoman?
What I saw was that the changes that need to be done does not only involve the people. Kailangan talaga, you have to start with the infrastructure. Kailangan a major overhaul of how the New Bilibid prison is perceived. First of all, it's in a 551-hectare facility that's hard to control. You have 14,000 inmates in there. And then they're put into dormitory types na kubos. At saka, they do not have the right, some of them, as attested to by J.B. Sebastian, they would have to pay for their own electricity. Yeah. So, ang nangyayari, according to him, then they have to raise funds.
Pera-pera.
We had that same experience in Cebu. When I became governor in 2004, the CPDRC, or Cebu Provincial Detention and Rehabilitation inmates, were all cramped up in a 250 inmate capacity. At that time, umaabot na sila ng 1,600.
So, kailangan yung infrastructure pa.
They had to be transferred to a new facility. Yun naman talaga kailangan. Facility, so that this would, if we change the infrastructure, there would be less room for corruption.
All right, okay. What about, very briefly, Congressman, please?
Well, I think what Deputy Speaker Garcia said is simply a piece of the problem. The problem here itself is corruption. Because if you stop corruption, there is no problem left. That's the problem.
All right, so we await whatever committee report will come out of this. Deputy Speakers Castro, thank you so much, and Garcia. Good to see you again. And good luck on the next hearings.
Thank you din sa iyo, Pinky.
Thank you.
it should go. And as Deputy Speaker Fred said, we're supposed to be known to be hard workers, and
Of
so we're
course.
now proving ourselves.
And this is not the first time this hearing lasted for 13 hours. This is the fourth hearing, and it concluded last night. Also because Congressman Umali was saying that the House Speaker wanted this pretty much over and done with. After 4 days, Congresswoman, what's your assessment so far?
A lot of testimonies, a lot of shocking revelations. We will have to sift through all of the data that have been presented, that the illegal drug trade was ongoing, and in fact, it proliferated. Meron lang mga, siguro, nagkakaiba-iba yung kanilang mga testimonies insofar as some other aspects are concerned, but what was common to all was the admission that they were tasked to engage in the illegal drug trade in order to raise funds for the senatorial campaign of then Secretary of Justice Leila De Lima.
In your opinion, Congresswoman, does that make Senator Leila De Lima guilty?
We cannot just pass judgment right now. It is, and I would also wish to remind myself that the investigation was not a prosecution process, that we were not there to find out who were actually guilty, but we were there to find out what were the flaws of the system in the New Bilibid prison in order to craft legislation that would address the long recurring problems that exist in the NBP.
Congressman, I understand what Congresswoman Garcia was saying, that really it's answered one question after another on the alleged illegal drug trade at the National Penitentiary. Let's go straight to the source of this story, to the legislators themselves who probed Sebastian. Welcome to the program, House Deputy Speakers Fred Castro and, of course, Gwen Garcia. Thank you for joining us today.
It's nice to be with you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. You're not tired after 13 hours?
Well, for us who are used to working that long, 13 hours is nothing. We can go more than 30 hours.
Yeah, Congresswoman.
Well, we always expected that this is how, of course, nakikita na sa karamihan ng, well, practically all of those that testified may common denominator. We know that this all started with House Resolution 105, which called for an investigation into the illegal drug trade in the New Bilibid prison. And after all of the witnesses had been heard, I think the entire country already knows that parang may common denominator lahat. And this would all lead to then Secretary of Justice Leila De Lima. Obviously, this was admitted